So, can you tell me a couple of words about yourself in context of Gurdjieff moment?
When I graduated from college, long time ago, I met with a friend who was interested in philosophy and poetry, and he told me he was friends with a young woman, whose mother had worked with this man called Gurdjieff. And he started to tell me about it. He showed me a book. And I went away, I went down to visit my family in Florida. I took one of the Gurdjieff books with me. Then I started to read it. I was 21 years old. And at first I thought, it's hard to accept anything in this book. It was so unusual, and I had come out of a very good college majoring in philosophy. And this was unlike anything I had ever encountered, and I couldn't really accept it. Quite the contrary. Then I kept on reading, and suddenly I began to feel this man who was speaking, who was called G in the book. This book was In Search of the Miraculous. I felt there was something in him, in the way he spoke, in the way he thought, in something between the lines. There was something that I could only call, he spoke in a very ancient traditional phrase, he spoke as one having authority. Not authority based on anything institutional or formal. Much of what he said was still strange to me, still unacceptable, but there was authority in his words. There was authority in the life, in the sequence of thought, in the presence. I'd never experienced reading someone who had the kind of authority that was not institutional of any kind, just by what I later began to feel was what we call being. And the more I read, the more I was attracted by the presence that was in between the words, that was in the man, even in this book, in the sequence of ideas, in the precision, even when the most unacceptable sounding or unusual ideas that my philosophically trained mind would reject and argue against, but it just kept on compelling me. Finally, I said to my friend up in New York, I spoke to his friend was the daughter of this woman that was with Gurdjieff, and I wanted to go and meet the person who had been in person with this man, Gurdjieff. Mm-hmm. So I wrote a letter to this woman who was a pupil of Gurdjieff, had been, and she invited me to come to meet with her. And when I met with her in New York, she had a kind of presence also, but it was a little different quality, a little different level, but with no doubt this was a special kind of person who emanated a special kind of force, which I found very interesting. Nothing compelling, nothing suggesting that I believe something or that nothing forced upon me, nothing pretentious, just a quality of life in this person. And that was my beginning of the Gurdjieff work, Gurdjieff teaching, which I stayed with for a while, and went away for a while, then came to live in San Francisco as a professor in San Francisco State University in philosophy, and found that there was a Gurdjieff group in San Francisco. I never imagined such a thing would be. I thought this had been an unusual man, very powerful, but that was in the past. But there it was here. So I got in touch with the people here who were pupils of Gurdjieff teaching, found them very interesting, very impressive, met with one of the leading people here in this community, and found an extraordinary level of honesty that I never thought I would meet.
With whom?
Huh?
From whom?
From the man who was one of the leaders of the work here.
What's the name of his?
I'd rather not say. But there was an extraordinary level of honesty. And this, that, and the other thing, I met finally the man who was a direct pupil of Gurdjieff, and I was doubly impressed by him and drawn to him, and that was the beginning. I've left out a lot of the most important things, but that was something of what...
Maybe you will tell it to us in Russian house.
Maybe.
And tell me how the Gurdjieff work influenced on your philosophy, on your philosophical things.
The quality, not an intellectual quality as I was familiar with it, but something else helped me to keep a distance between academic work, which I was doing as best I can, like an academician, and this search, inward search of who or what I am, what we human beings are. And I soon discovered that philosophy was very good, very interesting, very important, but it was basically about ideas, and great ideas even. But that I found that the Gurdjieff work was about energy that I had no idea about up till then, human energy. So there was no comparison between philosophy as such and Gurdjieff teaching, which was mainly about energy. And I can't say much more about that now. We'd have to talk about energy that we have a little bit in our lives, but we have no idea about how much and what quality of energy is possible in our inner life, in our inner being. This was completely new, and I was feeling it, perceiving it, but I didn't know the name of it, and I didn't see the connection right away with academic. On the contrary, I tried to keep both these two things as separate as possible and not really merge academic work with what we came to call work on oneself. But later on, I was able to try to make a bridge between great questions of philosophy and the responses to them in the Gurdjieff teaching, which were completely unexpected and completely powerful and beautiful at the same time.